they featured it on the show multiple times, whether it was Moniece chasing a pregnant woman with a chair at my fashion show. It didn't matter, right? That reel was going to be played over and over, and I think it's still being played to this day.
It is.
So, you know, I capitalized on a lot of those real moments in order to brand myself.
So we want to help filmmakers. Oh, that's not, you know, I don't know anything. Tap, tap. Good. Platform when they need extra help, and then obviously creatives are looking for extra gigs. That's the whole point of the platforms: collab, create, and make money. So, yeah. And now we're having this podcast so we could talk to successful creatives and see how people pivot. Because I think what I notice on podcasts is like they're talking about them being successful, but they're not talking about their stories. They're not talking about their pivots. And I already had, prior to ICE, I already had knew of you because of Love and Hip Hop, and was excited about seeing a female entrepreneur on there, and not just the drama side, but like, which I don't get me wrong, I like drama. I like watching drama. I'm not gonna sit here and cap. It was entertaining to watch, but it was also dope to see a queer woman have their own shit going on. Like, so we gotta pick up from that story and bring it back down to where AD is at today. So are all three of them running? Cool. Okay, once it closes, we'll just.
You can hear it too, right? Okay, good. I'm good distance-wise and voice. Because I'll pretty much talk a little bit like lower.
Yeah, she talks.
I don't want to like project too much.
All right, talk normal.
My name
Talk
is AD.
in. We were AD.
AD. It's probably like my volume.
I'm
I'm not gonna probably go much unless it's like super excited about a point, but it's probably gonna be just a chill vibe. Yeah.
That's okay.
That's good. Yeah, I'm good with wherever you need it. I just want to make sure you can hear me, so I don't have to like push the voice too much.
I'm good, and even so, we got some sound engineer. So just be yourself.
Yeah.
You'll be fine. Good to go?
Oh, yeah, you're good.
All right, so we're back at the Jem Social Podcast. This is Bree Flemings, and I'm so excited about this podcast today simply because somebody that I was a fan and supporter of for years finally got to know me in person, thinks I'm cool, and she came on my podcast. So welcome, AD, to Jem Social Podcast.
Thank you for
Let's
having
talk a
me.
little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. So I'm excited. I actually haven't done interviews in a while. I feel like I get to a point where like I kind of want to duck off.
Yeah.
And just like get my feet on the ground. And it's like usually when I'm going through a lot of different transitions. And so, you know, where AD is at now is different than maybe if I would have done this interview even like just a couple years ago. So it's perfect timing. Like I'm a fan of timing, and also the way that we met. It was so organic.
Yes.
We got LinkedIn, and I knew at some point me and you would probably work.
Yes.
So I'm excited.
I 100% agree. I'm big on timing. I'm big on not forcing things too, because when I moved to Houston, I'm sure you relate to this, whether it's been moving to Houston, moving to LA, well, being from LA, whatever it may be. I felt like I was so excited to get to Houston that a lot of connections were forced first, because naturally you just want to pick off where you left off from the last state. And when I was in Miami, I was a DJ, you know, I was already making 6 figures in tech, like everything was already settled. I had my home on the lake, like I was living a good life. And then boom, my dad passed. And you start thinking, is this really where I want to be? Like, because when death happens around you, you start thinking about your own life. Like, am I really living in my purpose? And I was not. I absolutely was not. I knew I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I knew I always wanted to create a platform that's solving a problem for creatives the same way I had problems as a DJ in Miami. And I knew I wanted to fully go for it. And I knew being in Miami wasn't going to be the place that I was going to plant that seed, because Miami is exactly where I wanted to leave anyways. So when I got to Houston and I ended up having that event for my app, I knew that even was a forced partnership that I had with the people I was partnering with, because we weren't in alignment. What they were doing is great. What I was doing was great. But their target market and my target market were totally 2 different markets. So I'm glad that wasn't the way that we got to formally meet in person, because you would have just saw me kind of like frazzled by the event outcome, just because it was so many different directions from what I was expecting, but that's okay because again, you just realize you don't need to force every single thing. Now, we're in this beautiful space from Collab Social. We have an amazing partnership with them for our podcast. And now I can organically bring in people who fit exactly what I want to talk about. And what I want to talk about today is we on the internet, as people that first saw you
Yeah.
on Love and Hip Hop LA, we haven't gotten to see your story after you left the show. So where are you at today after leaving Love and Hip Hop LA?
Yeah, Love and Hip Hop, shout out to what it was and what it is, right? It's a platform, right? If you utilize it properly, I mean, there's a ton of influencers that are making money from this type of platform, right?
Yep.
Before even joining the show, I guess I kind of have to rewind to go forward.
Yep.
I was already in corporate America for 13 years as a senior manager. On the show, I wasn't allowed to talk about that aspect of my life because I was in contract with the company I worked for.
Yep.
So in order for me to do the show, I could not speak about kind of my background and like what I already was doing. And so I was already a successful senior manager at this Fortune 500 company, making six figures, a very established human in the world. And so when I got onto the show, I opened up a sneaker shop, which you can Google and you can see that, right? That was a short-lived situation because similar to you, I got into a partnership, a joint venture with someone that said, hey, I got money. You have the idea, let's join. But what you don't realize, if they don't have the vision, and even if they have the money, there's always gonna be a disconnect on where we're gonna go. So a silent partnership maybe possibly could have been better, but they were active. So I decided to dissolve the joint ventureship early on. And I realized that I had this brand though. I called it Dig the Kicks. My last name is Diggs. And it was a vibe. And I decided to go into like apparel. I've never done apparel before, but I know what I like to be in. And I wanted to be in alignment with who I was, right? This unisex. I didn't want to have a gender attached to it. You could put a hoodie on, some sweatpants. It does not matter your gender. And so I really focused in on that target and I just went with it. I created these hoodies and these sweatpants, very basic kind of apparel. I wasn't coming out and I'm like, oh, I'm a fashion person. But I created my own logo. I did everything, regardless of if I had money put up or not. I realized that when you're starting a business, you are going to have to do everything yourself. And so,
let the church say amen.
Yeah, so I learned so much from that process. I mean, creating an LLC to how to protect yourself, how to create bank accounts that are business accounts. I mean, so many things, filing taxes the right way, so much stuff, creating a logo. I would find myself as more of an analytical person, but I found myself in this creative space that I was like, oh, I kind of like this.
Yes.
It gives me this free will to shut my brain down and just create.
That is amazing. So I love that you rewinded to move forward because now something that I learned and now that our audience will learn is that you were the senior manager at this Fortune 500 company, pivoted on Love and Hip Hop. Couldn't talk about that, which already kind of shadows a big part of your story. So let's take it there first. We without obviously having to talk about the company, but let's talk about a little bit more of what your role was as the senior manager and what kind of company it was so people can really understand each part of your story.
Yeah, so I actually was a purchasing manager.
Okay.
So I worked for CarMax. It was a big automotive company. Everybody knows who they are. I was a purchasing manager actually for many years. I worked my way up from the bottom, which I detailed cars initially, and I was going through college. I wasn't sure the direction of life. But then I wanted more. Every aspect of my life, like I'm always asking, like, what else can I do and push myself, especially in the social norms. When I first joined that company, I had like cornrow braids and, I have tattoos and they were looking at me like, you want to do what? You want to be in management? You want to be in leadership? And I'm like, yeah, I do. Right. And so I obviously took the cornrows out and, I presented myself in a more professional manner. And I interviewed and worked my way up and got to senior management where I was running literally my own store. Wow. Managing buyers, managing sales consultants. I was offsite managing millions of dollars on the offsite auctions, and I repped auctions. I did so much cool stuff, right? I never got that chance to kind of like dig into there and talk about it because it was so snuffed out that you only see me and you're just like, oh, she owned a clothing line.
Right.
Oh, she's bought some real estate.
Right.
But like I literally
But there's a
worked my
story
ass
behind
off.
that. Exactly. And now that I hear it, it all makes sense because while I'm sure it was a job that probably did frequently cause you some burnout.
Oh, 100%.
It sounds like you got a lot of great hands-on experience though for where you are today.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I think that's amazing. I mean, first and foremost, a lot of entrepreneurs watching this, we have to understand that our product isn't always the most important thing. It's also our sales pipeline and how we're actually getting people to want to purchase our product. And the fact that you are already a purchasing manager and also worked with all of these different stakeholders, went to all these different sites, probably dealt with all kinds of different consumers and audiences, that had you well prepared for your next transition. So let's also now go into how the hell did you end up on Love and Hip Hop?
Let's do it. Let's jump in. All right. So I'm from Los Angeles. I was at a nightclub in Los Angeles. It's no longer there. Sad. West Hollywood. They knocked the whole thing down. But I was just, it was a random day, literally a random day. My friends hit me up, say, hey, you want to go out? I'm like, sure. We would frequent this spot. It was like a good little spot to go to, just have some drinks, maybe like on a Friday. And I was just chilling. And I knew a lot of the promoters. And it's so funny. One of the promoters tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, somebody wants to meet you. I'm looking around like, who wants to meet me? Like, at this point, again, I'm just a senior manager. My social media presence is, I probably have 400 followers. I'm not very much like put myself out there. I don't need to be seen all the time. I would consider myself a bit shy too, which is weird because a lot of people don't really get that from me. So when she taps me on the shoulder, I said, okay, who? So awkwardly, I walk up and I get introduced to Moniz. And it was awkward, it's loud in there.
Right.
And I looked at her, she looked at me, and I didn't know who she was. No, it wasn't like an introduction, like, oh, this is so-and-so. It's loud in there. I didn't know who she was. And the promoter also, at the time, like I was close with her, she's like, just chill right here, man. She's really cool. Like, everything's gonna be fine. I'm just like, my friends are looking at me, I'm looking at them, I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. You know, there's like this awkward Hollywood interaction. I'm like, I'm not really into
Why
this.
do I imagine that?
Yeah, I'm like
well?
not, I'm literally not into this. Like, I promise you I'm not into it. So I'm just like, oh, here goes, you know, oh, okay, what's up, you know?
Right.
So that's basically how the introduction happened. I went over her house that actual same night. She said she was having a gathering, but it ended up just being her and I.
That was the gathering.
Yeah, it was nobody
That was the gathering
there.
spot.
It was nobody there but me and her, and I was looking around like, so I was like, oh, here goes this straight woman that just maybe likes, you know, to dibble and dabble in our community.
Right.
And so I'm not so opposed to it.
No, we have all been there.
I'm not so opposed to it. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of the introduction of her and I, and then
I see.
and then after that, we dated. It was light dating, and the way that the show kind of stuff works is it's expedited basically. So you could be dating for 3 months, and they'll make it seem as if you were dating for 3 years.
Right.
So
And I was keeping up with the show, and just in perspective, when I first came across Love and Hip Hop LA, or was it Love and Hip Hop Hollywood?
It's Hollywood.
Hollywood, that's what it's called.
Yeah.
I was in school in Miami at my internship, bored at the IT desk, and would just be watching shows in between while I was doing these IT tickets. And I remember seeing Moniz and Fizz on one season. You know, they're back and forth, her knocking these ladies out, and stuff. And then the next season, I had saw you, and I was like, oh, okay, like, oh, we have someone else in our community. So I was not aware at all for sexuality, nor did I ever care about anybody's sexuality, but I did see the pivot, and I was wondering, like, where did that come from? So it's so interesting to hear that when you were a senior manager, you happen to be at a nightclub, the promoter
plugs me.
plugs you with Moniz, like, naturally,
me.
y'all kick it, y'all end up dating for a few months, and now you end up on the show.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing I think people don't know about Moniz, and this is real, is that she has dated women before me. It wasn't a public thing. I think she's talked about it a bit. she's a very open person, like her with her sexuality. I feel like she loves love, and that's really what it was.
Yeah.
Like when you get to know her, you know that about
Yeah.
her. Me saying nice things about her is crazy, but shout out to
Shout out to
shout out
maturity.
to my growth. I'll just say that.
Yes.
But no, genuinely, like at the core of who she was, especially at that time, I know she loves love, and so our relationship was real. Most
Yeah.
people, you know, that's the first question they always want to ask me. Was I really in her life? Absolutely. Her family's life, her son's life,
Yeah.
me and Drew, we all co-parented whatever we could do for the success of that. So that was real. And all the other stuff that came along with it was also real. And so.
And you know, and that's what makes it real. All components of it, whether it's good, bad, drama, peace, like it was real. And I will say that I never doubted that it was real. So I love that it happened naturally. And I'm sure that maybe you've learned things, she's learned things, all the things. But I would say, or ask, do you feel like y'all relationship and then leading to the show helped you with scaling that first business that you just mentioned, which was the apparel shop?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll tell you this. You mentioned something that was really important. You mentioned burnout, right? I was in corporate America for 13 years.
Yeah.
And I was working long hours. I'm the first in, the first to leave. I have to be there on
12 to 16 hour
holidays,
days.
no matter what, right?
Yeah.
I have to show up, and the success is based off of my presence. And so I actually started getting burnt out, and I said there has to be something else, right? I'm making money here. I love structure, but there's a ceiling to this structure no matter how you look at it, right?
Right.
So I wanted more. And I started to talk about it. And when I created the apparel line, that kind of was what my thought process was, right? I want out, and this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to figure out how to supplement my income, right? What do I have to get to? How do I have to do this?
Right.
And that's all I could think about. And so I put my head down and I created the line.
Right.
And I could tell you the first year it was out, it was very successful. Not just me saying that, but on paper, doing taxes and things like that. It actually did numbers, and I was impressed. Was it enough to retire me from corporate America? No, because I realized that both of these merging, like the corporate America was funding basically the business.
Right.
And so in order for me to completely leave corporate America, it had to be funding itself. And it wasn't doing that just yet. And I think most entrepreneurs and business owners are realizing, like, where do I get funding?
Yeah.
Where's the capital come from?
Right.
Right. And the corporate America structure allowed me to have that capital to really do a lot of things that most, I would say, entrepreneurs just starting out don't have the ability to do. So because of that, I had a lot more success. Plus I had the show as leverage as marketing.
Exactly.
That's a huge, huge marketing tool, right? They featured it on the show multiple times, whether it was Moniece chasing a pregnant woman with a chair at my fashion show. It didn't matter, right? That reel was going to be played over and over, and I think it's still being played to this day.
It is.
So, I capitalized on a lot of those real moments in order to brand myself.
I like what you mentioned that a lot of people don't have is structure. You mentioned the capital part. I think that's so important, and it's something I can relate to because I actually was laid off in June and I didn't go back to corporate America because in the same breath, I said the same thing. I was like, is this really my life? Like, is this really going to be what it's going to be? So I just spent the summer looking for capital, and I ended up getting my first investor. The investment was basically the same amount I would make in the salary. So I was like, all right, well, let's take this money and pour it into the platform and go from there. So I love the fact that you covered the capital part. The capital came from your corporate job. That covers that question for those who are wondering. Capital came from her corporate job.
Yep.
The marketing came from Love and Hip Hop. Those reels, the short form content, the long form content, just the fact that they were showing the shop was very helpful. Now walk me through the part where you've decided to walk away from the partnership for the actual shop.
Yeah, dissolving that partnership was the best thing I ever did because our vision was off, right? The alignment was off. So we were going to bleed money it was like cut the loss now, right? And so The partner wanted to keep the shop, so he bought me out of it, basically.
Okay, so you sold it.
Yeah, I sold it to him. Wherever we were at, whatever inventory we had there, just if any loan we took out. I think we took a loan together, which was fine, and it was a small one, and he bought me out of it.
Okay.
Literally. And so it worked out perfectly for me I took my name though, I own the name, so he changed the name.
Okay.
I own Dig the Kicks, like trademarked and also LLC. So that was mine. So I took the name and that's how I created you said something so important. I feel like when you're gonna do business, it's so important that you pick the right people to do business with, or they have the right position, I almost say.
And they know their role. And they own that. I'm learning that even with my startup. And I can imagine, I know that like having a store and having a clothing line and, having an app, like I know these are different avenues, but people have got to learn about contracts.
Yes.
Contracts, When I started this platform, I didn't even know anything about what's in our world called vesting, people working their way up to the percentage that they own.
Yeah.
I just used to say, yep, you get this percent and that's that. And then next thing you know, if they leave the company legally, they still own that percentage. Unless you had it written up differently in the contract. And now in my contracts, even for our full-time employees joining the company, they have a vesting period. You have to be here for X amount of time to get X amount of shares. So it's so important that not only do you find the right co-founder, which to be honest, y'all, it's a game. Like you don't even know. You don't even know who you're dating half the time for God knows how long.
You know what? You hit something right on the head.
So think about, your business partner. But the one thing you can control, the one thing that is tangible and that's on paper is the contracts. So did you have a contract with your co-founder or partner?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Absolutely. We had contracts.
How did you set that up?
So we went through all the legal stuff that we could do. I'm a big fan of contracts, just getting it in writing. Throughout my career and loving hip hop and any businesses I've ever done, I had actually a really great lawyer that reached out to me and found me on the internet. She was a Black woman. She was like, I'm looking for an inclusive, I want to deal with, your community. And she hit me up and then she became my lawyer and she was amazing. She worked for a huge firm at the time, representing a lot of big names. And so I was a small fish in this, but it was what she wanted to do and where she was trying to venture off into. So I was really grateful for her because she was so smart and she made sure that I was always protected. So I utilized her really. I mean, to be honest, partnerships, you don't need to know everything. And I will tell you that throughout this process, what I learned the most is that what you're good at is what you're good at, but there's other people that are supposed to be doing the other things for a reason.
So what would you say that you were good at?
Interesting. That's a great question. What am I good at?
Because it starts with, what do we know that we're good at? So I'll let you think about it. I can say what I know for sure I'm good at. I know that I'm good at building relationships. I know that I'm good at coding. I know that I'm good at product design, like for mobile apps and web designs. Like, I also know that I'm good with business development. But what I'm not good at is, I know I'm not good at marketing, like integrated marketing, like knowing how to really get things out there. I needed a partner in that world. I'm not good at actually taking the content and structuring it. I'm not great at scripting, like these things that I had to learn, right? So in my partnerships with my chief marketing officer, I knew exactly what my to-do list was with him. With my chief technical officer, I knew exactly what I needed him to do because I'm good at the front end side of things, meaning whatever you guys see on the internet, like on a mobile app, the design is front end. Back end stuff is like the data that's captured, when you're filling out a form or you're purchasing something, that kind of stuff I'm not good at. So I needed a back end developer, a database administrator, and somebody who can handle the infrastructure of the app, because if we have 1,000 people on the app one day and then 1 million the next, then the scalability is up for grabs. So I need to make sure that that person was there, that person's there for marketing, and I handle a lot of the sales, partnerships, division, and product design. So I know what I'm good at. So now that you've taken time,
Yeah.
What do you know that you are good at?
So what I do know I'm good at is finances, right? So I have an analytical brain, so I love numbers. And so I like to see things, right? Profit loss, margins, things like that, right? So being able to grow a business from a financial standpoint, I'm really good at. I know that I'm good at. Like I can step in any role, and if we want to talk, I can observe and I can sit there and I can tell you what we need to do in order, one, to stop bleeding out money or how to be profitable. I know that for a fact, right? So I realized that early on. I was a purchasing manager, right? So I had to look at numbers and I had to look at a ton of data. And what I currently do too, we'll get into that, but other things and other ventures I went into, I realized what I was really good at is moving money.
And that's really important in any industry. It's so important to know your finances, profit, loss, like margins, net profit. Like it's all very, very important. So I love the fact that you got a lot of this experience too from the purchasing manager part. Like I have to make sure that we, as an audience, remember that that was her background. Not that she just ended up loving hip hop and then
No.
and then boom, this is how she learned skills. No, she already had skills coming onto the show that wasn't shown. And it sounds like you're still able to use these skill sets now.
Absolutely.
So we covered you being on Love and Hip Hop, how you got on there, you dissolving the partnership. And that's it. That was the last of what we heard for
Yes.
A.D Diggs. Now, where are you today?
Yeah, so when the show ended, I ended up buying property in South Central LA. Actually, with Monique's mother, she was a realtor at the time. I think I was her first property she ever sold. So I worked with her and I bought property and I was a property manager. So when I got my feet in, obviously making money from the show, making money from my corporate job, and also with the clothing line, so I was able to invest. I was like, what am I gonna do with this money? I need to move it, right? We need to move the money. If not, somebody's gonna take it, so let's move it.
Right.
So I invested in a property, and when I did that, like, I lit up.
What kind of property was it?
It was a duplex.
Oh,
It was a duplex.
I love me a
Me too.
duplex, a multifamily. So
It was a
the fact that you
it was a
got
duplex
in
in LA. But at the time I got in, I mean, it was perfect timing. I got it for a really good deal. I got renters in there right away.
Good.
And so I became not only a property owner, but a manager, right? A property manager.
Right.
And so I lit up at that point. Like I was like, there's something about this that I just enjoy, right? There's something about this business, no matter what I'm doing, like I become alive.
Yeah.
It's the best part of me.
Wow.
And when I'm stagnant and I'm not doing it, it's like I feel depressed almost, right? Like there's no movement in me. So I'm happiest when. So when that happened, I was like, you know what? What if I go get my real estate license, right? Think about that. Like then I get to the privilege of. It wasn't even so much about selling people other people's houses.
No,
It was more about what I have access to, right? Almost like in this space. And my brain just started moving, right? So
and you can save the commission when you're purchasing.
yeah, so I went and actually got my real estate license in California.
Okay.
I did that. I dibbled and dabbled a little bit in the real estate world. I didn't really like it as much. And then I stumbled across the mortgage industry.
Okay.
And I got my mortgage license. And that's where I'm at currently right now, working for a Fortune 300 company, which is a big company out there. And I sold this loan for a while and I got recognized right away. And they asked me, they didn't know nothing about my background outside of, they didn't know I was a purchase manager, whatever else.
Right.
They just liked the way, I guess, I sold this loan. And they asked me if I'd be interested in going in a leadership role.
Wow.
And I told them, like, I was asked to go into leadership. And from there, I kind of actually declined the management position because I told them, like, I just came from 13 years of giving my life. And what I liked about mortgage or real estate, you work in an individual pace and individual level. And if you give me a team, now I'm required to almost dedicate myself to people again.
Right.
And in my head, I'm going back into this funding aspect of my life.
Yeah.
I know that this can fund something bigger, which is I want to buy more real estate.
Right.
So anyways, I declined the actual management position, but I did take a coaching position. So I am actually a sales trainer. So I train loan officers Monday through Friday to sell the loan.
I love that.
It's so much more my passion and my, like, I feel like I'm making an impact.
Yes.
And also I got the freedom in kind of this space now.
Does this loan company do refinances?
They do everything.
I will have to talk to you after
Yeah,
because I have
absolutely.
2 homes that need to
I
refinance.
got you.
But this is exactly what I'm talking about. People didn't know these things.
No,
There's
no.
probably so many people right now, especially post-election, they're trying to refinance, you know, just hit a year or 2 on their FHA loans. Like
Exactly.
myself, I hit a year after, October for my FHA loan on my duplex in Sunnyside.
Mm-hmm.
And then I own another duplex in Cleveland, and I just sold my house in Miami. So I definitely love the fact that you're a sales coach and that you're teaching people how to sell these loans, because I definitely need to talk to you about a couple of them. So that's awesome. But
Yeah.
that is amazing. Like, I totally didn't know that. What I did see online was that you ended up also launching an Airbnb business.
I did.
So you have a duplex in LA. You do sales coach. You're a sales coach as well, teaching others how to sell these loans. And now you have an Airbnb business here in Houston.
Yeah, so I guess we'd have to kind of go back. So I actually sold the duplex in South Central, which I wish I didn't, but because of everything that just took place there, we got the Coliseum and all this stuff popping up in LA. But I did make a profit off it, and I knew I wanted to move the money. And so again, just kind of put that up. So I guess we'd have to kind of go to how I got from LA to Houston. And I am a big fan of growing.
Yes.
And the only way I believe, especially when it pertains to me, is the way I grow is to make myself uncomfortable. And I am not necessarily a person that likes to be alone. I do like community. I have a sister that I'm like super locked in, niece and nephew locked in, family is good. And I like to be with them as much as I can. And I got solid family and friends in LA. But I realized like I was kind of at a flat line and there was no movement happening. And so it was on my heart and it was resonate. I have no clue why. I can't really tell you. I still think I'm in this what it is and why I'm here moment, this purpose, right? But it's something that burns down deep in you and you can't quiet it for some reason until you actually go and do it. And so Houston ended up becoming on the radar. I had a couple friends that lived out here, and I was like, you know what, I won't be completely alone.
Right.
I'll go do my thing. So I came out here, and the first year I was here, I kind of just had fun. I just wanted to know what Houston was about, and Houston is not a real place, I tell you. Houston is not a real place. You can get caught up in this so quickly, and it will take you. I didn't even realize I lived here. It was almost like, do I live here? I feel like I'm on vacation every day.
Houston grabbed me by the pussy. Houston grabbed me by the pussy.
It got me good.
It got me real good.
It got me good. I had my first year of just
having a ball, honey.
Yeah.
As you should.
Yeah, so that was my first year. And then the second year, I actually ran into a realtor randomly being out in a social setting. And you know, it's crazy. And she can vouch for this. I probably was drinking at the time too. But she showed me her Instagram and I was like, oh, you're a realtor. I said, I'm going to work with you in the future. I'm sure many people say that, right? She knows nothing about me. And when I told her, I said, I will work with you in the future. I was tipsy, of course. She probably was like, this girl's drunk. Like, yeah, whatever.
Right. Talking
no lie. I reached out to her and I said, I'm ready to work with you. And she actually is well versed in the Airbnb world. And so I did a partnership with her. She put me up on game. And yeah, I got my first Airbnb in Houston. Now, I have to say this, kind of going back to the right partnerships though. I got in business with someone that, yes, we had what we wanted to do and what we wanted to accomplish, and we saw that. But what we didn't have is, how can I say this? Like, she had this very scared, I don't want to go backwards. I'm afraid to lose everything kind of mentality.
Right.
And for me, I wasn't afraid of that anymore, right? I came from nothing. I built myself out the ground. I could do it again 10 times over, no matter where you place me. That's my mentality. Like, you could put me back and I'm gonna come back out of it.
You're gonna go hard.
It's gonna take me some time, but I know how to do it. She had this kind of scared investment. Every move that we made, she questioned it. It wasn't.
Scared money don't make no money.
Exactly. And so I had to dissolve that partnership, that joint. And the crazy thing about it is our Airbnb was doing so well.
Right.
So well. And it hit me hard, the investment. But it was the best thing. I knew, once again, here I am in a whole nother state,
Yep.
experiencing similar things
Yep.
once again. So it's taught me a lot. So I decided to pivot as quickly as I could. I had money and I hit the realtor again. I
Yep.
said, hey, I gotta figure this out. Like
Right.
this kind of went up in flames, but I know I can move. And I mean, she's like, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to buy property. I want to buy property right now with the interest rates the way it is, because I know that when those interest rates shift, I have a property that I own, I can refinance it, and I'm pulling the money from it, and it's going to be a wash. Let's go. And she's like, bro, you're crazy. Like you hit me every time you go, and I was go. I bought the property, a brand new 2024 at the time build. And yeah, I own property in Houston now.
Did you rent it out?
I am currently working on some stuff with it. Yeah, I feel like now I'm in works talking about fix and flips with her. Literally this week talking about it.
It sounds like you guys already have it sounds like what it is it's a really good business relationship.
Yeah.
You trust her and you might be forming a future partnership with her because you're already transacting so much value through her. I'm sure that you guys are going to find something together.
You know what I love about her is she believes me.
That goes a long way.
When I say, hey, this is what she's like, I trust you. Like, there's something, like, no matter, she's very successful in real estate, really successful in Airbnb. But when she hears me, she's like, bro, I never thought in that way. And we trust each other's vision and thought process. I'll do whatever you want, AD, because I believe that this is going to be. And so,
she sees your vision.
Yes, crazy enough is that she was like, when I get my money in this situation, I would love to do something with you. And that's the type of business you want to do.
I 100% agree. I'm really inspired by this, especially because outside of obviously Jem Social, I'm a real estate investor. So it's always interesting to hear what other real estate investors are doing. And I think the biggest part that people have to get out of their mind is that real estate is so creative. You can be creative with real estate. Like, I feel like people just hear real estate and think this is a boring investment. It absolutely is not. First of all, it can make you very happy or make you cry at night. And fortunately for me, it did both this week. But I love it. I love it. Like, even when I talk to my friends about the most frustrating days about, maybe this person paid their rent late or whatever it may be, like, and they sometimes are like, so do you think you still want to do this? Motherfucker, yes, I want to still do it. You're going to have a hard day in every single industry, whether you're working a 9-to-5, whether you're an entrepreneur, or whether you do both, because I like to advocate on here, you can do both. Like, I feel you can do it all. You can do whatever you want. Because let me tell you something, these celebrities do it.
Yeah.
These celebrities do it. I remember Cardi B was a creative director at some point and was still going on tour, doing her shows, being on the podcast, doing her deals. But she had still that steady income of like $700K a year, So it's like, please don't think that you cannot have this 9-to-5 and still be doing your creative endeavors and still be investing and stuff, because at the end of the day, corporate America looks so much different from early 2000s.
Yeah.
110%. I remember my parents having to throw in these suits and ties and dresses and heels and driving to wherever they had to drive to for their jobs. At the time it was Philly. And we have resided in Delaware at some point. And nowadays, like, I'm just on my laptop in my pajamas or in my hoodie, like chilling or here doing a deal or at my office in Midtown, like doing whatever in consulting. So it's like, you absolutely can diversify. And I love the fact that not only are you not scared to get, to the bottom if need be, but you have diversified your income enough where it's like, it's going to work. Even if this don't work, motherfucker's fine, because I got something else in the pipeline.
Come on, man.
And I think that that's where I need people to understand. It's like, diversify your income. Like, the biggest categories we have on our platform are the photographers, the videographers, influencers, the DJs, and I talk to all of them and I'm like, bro, y'all are not diversifying enough. There's 20,000 of y'all on this platform, but only 200 of y'all are collaborating. Y'all ain't doing what y'all need to be doing. If y'all were collaborating, y'all could be launching your next media company, your next production company. You guys can be submitting stuff to the film festivals. But y'all have to, talk. Open that goddamn mouth and start saying what you want. What do you want? Because that also might be something that this other person wants across the room. How can we work together? What's your weaknesses? What's your strengths? What's your values? I'm big on values. Like my
Same.
partners, they cannot be racist. Let's start there. Like, I mean, let's start there because there's people that's partnering with the devil for
Man,
money.
what?
You know what I'm saying? They
Yes.
cannot be racist. They cannot be homophobic. They absolutely need to support DEI. I don't care who's the president. You know, like just the basic things. Then on paper, yes, you need to have this level of experience because if you want this and this is what needs to come to the table. Like, and just the vision. Like, we want 1 million creators to download this, but how? I'm not going to be selling my behind and selling my pussy to do it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like values are everything because people will sell their soul to become a millionaire and a billionaire just to say I did it. I absolutely won't do that. But again, some of these partners will do the most to get this goal, and some people will do the absolute least. And I just have to emphasize to tell people like your values are so important. Like be value driven, be purpose driven. Like AD just went through so many different aspects that I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't expecting to hear the purchasing manager at CarMax and then being at the club and you had 400 followers and you was just out and about like just living your normal life and boom. But that pivot you held on to. You didn't just give up or, you know, get sad and said, you know what, I'm never doing this anymore. I'm never going to have a business anymore. I'm just going to go back to my 9 to 5 and I'm going to protect my peace and not go for my dreams at all. Like you're very goal driven, vision driven. I'm supporting you. I'm rooting for you. I also need this info about the refinance later this week, but I'm very proud of you. Just from someone, like I said, that was just sitting at a desk, watching the show on, I had 3 monitors. I had my terminal monitor where I was coding. I had my IT support desk, and then I had my little TV thing that I was watching. So to go from that to you being here today on the podcast, I'm super grateful. I feel like I'm going to have to get you on here a couple of times to hear more of your stories. I might even have to have you at one of our panels. But thank you so much for joining the Jem Social Podcast. And I'm really excited for people to see this.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I kind of want to close, but you have to change.
Make sure.
It's enough film on some storage.
Storage for real.
This camera eats storage like crazy.
So does the other. How would you want to close this?
Yeah, so there was a couple things that you touched on I think is important, right? We have limiting beliefs about ourselves.
Yep.
And we allow people to tell us who we are. And if you box yourself in, they're going to box you in.
Yep.
And so remove all the boxes and the ceilings and things like that and stop having the wrong conversations with yourself. It's going to start with yourself first and what you believe you actually deserve in this world. And I feel like we can eliminate that. The sky's the limit.
I 100% agree to that. Like, people will bully you to believe that your dreams aren't going to get you anywhere. And I always talk about that, even on my short form, my long form content. Like, no one can tell you where you can go. Only you can drive yourself to your own destination. And because we talk about Airbnb and because I'm a fan of the founder, I'll give a fact. When Airbnb started, they only had 12 people on there. 12 homes were on there, and it wasn't doing good at all. 12. Now they own more than 82% of the market when it comes to this.
Exactly.
Thousands of people turned them down. Lots of more people told them this is not going to work. This is not a good model. People don't want to have strangers in their homes. This is never going to be a big business. It's a multi-billion-dollar company. It survived COVID. They pivoted so well. And they're learning actually more, from what I've learned, is less is more. Less is more, people. You don't have to have a team of 200 to get to your goal. You don't even need to have a team of 20. You just need to have the right team.
Check.
Thanks for coming on the podcast, A.D. Really appreciate it.
Thanks.
And clip.
Absolutely.
That was great.